Hello and happiest of days to each of you folks. Today I'm reviewing a Crucible, the Trial of the Cyric, the Mad, and that sort of thing. It is by Troy Denning for you folks. It is the fifth and final book in the Avatar series for you folks, and that sort of a thing. So basically, this is the Avatar series, and that sort of a thing. The first three books were published in 1989, and they were by a few different authors. And that sort of a thing, and they were considered and sold at the time as this event novel you will need to read because this is going to change the realms forever and that sort of thing. So I read them as soon as they were published and that sort of thing. As a reminder, I grew up loving fantasy, a little bit of Tolkien stuff, and then I wanted to see it and that sort of thing. And so I'd read the Dragonlance stuff as soon as it was published, gone back and reread this thing's first trilogy for the channel. And I do regularly go back and read the big 6 books by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. And then I started reading the Forgotten Realms stuff as soon as it was published too. I read those novels, Dark Walker and Moonshade, loved it too. And the rest of that series, haven't gone back and read that. Men the Crystal Shard by R.A. Salvatore, loved that too. He actually became my favorite author. I've gone back and read his things a few times and so forth. And I've actually read recently for this channel the first 10 novels back in 2022, I think, a couple of years ago. So you can check it out too if you're interested. Great stuff too. And then the next one that I do go back and read is the guy who created the Forgotten Realms, Ed Greenwood's Spellfire in his series too. And that sort of thing. Love his stuff too because he created it and then sold it before Dungeons and Dragons. So it wasn't even great. He actually modified it and that sort of thing. Sold it for a nominal fee with the understanding he would publish these books. So I feel like he's got a better understanding, and his books have a certain je ne sais quoi that the other ones don't, even though Spellfire was hacked to pieces and that sort of thing. And was reduced like 30%. Of what was supposed to, what he submitted, and that sort of thing. And so I don't like that. But I've actually gone back and read the expanded edition for this too. Then the other thing that I would only typically go back and read is the Pools trilogy, The Heroes of Fail, based on the Pool of Radiance. And because it was Pool of Radiance week, I figured I'd knock it out too and then finish them up. And then while I was in a Forgotten Realms mood for you folks, I figured I would start to knock out some things I didn't read, like this trilogy, and that sort of thing. Now I remember at that time not liking it that much. The first two by different authors, and thought that the ending was the only good part. The third one, Waterdeep, that sort of a thing. Going back, I definitely appreciate that more and see that more. So the first one I gave it a 6.5 to. The next one I gave it a 6 to, and then the last one I gave it a 7 to just recently. Sort of thing. And then Prince of Lies, I just went back and read and like I started and so forth. I just gave a 7 to him. But I don't think that they stuck the landing, and so I'm glad that they pushed away and that sort of thing. Now remember that our main characters here in the first book are Midnight. She is a mage, and that sort of a thing, and she follows Maestro too. And early on, she's actually going to get some magic from Maestro, who realizes that the Gods' War is about to happen, about to get kicked out of heaven, and that sort of thing, which kicks off the entire series, right? The event trilogy, that sort of thing. Everything's going to happen after change, and then realms afterwards. Wild magic is going to get introduced and stay. You're going to have dead magic zones. The gods are kicked out of the heavens and have to walk the earth as avatars, all that sort of stuff too, right? So you've got that ready to go. But then you also have Midnight here, who's actually heard about that from Maestra. She'll actually, and because she's a woman, Kellen Vord, the leader of the party, when she's asked to join them, says nope. It's not a woman's work, what we're about to go do. He's very misogynistic, also very mercenary dude, and that sort of thing. That's the reason it's his curse of lycanthropy and that sort of thing. But yeah, you can definitely tell he's not a great guy. We don't root for him. Aiden is a vain cleric of Suni, the goddess of beauty. So obviously the goddess of beauty would be something you would be vain about. He actually will go through, after being scarred in the first novel, his face, he'll actually go through a crisis of faith. He's even less of a likable character. And then the other one is the anti-hero, Cyric, who is the title of this one, and that sort of thing. And then he's the thief, and that sort of thing. But none of these people, except for Midnight, are people that you actually want to root for, right? And they don't even like each other too. I'm sure at that time in 1989, it would have been seen as this very avant-garde. Look at it. They don't even like each other, except for Aiden and Midnight, and that sort of thing. Right? And so they don't even like each other. How are they going to save the realms? Find the tablets of faith, restore them, and that sort of thing. I'm sure at the time it would have been very shocking. On the cusp of the 90s, I can see when a lot of characters were added and turned into some very darker anti-hero eras. I'm sure that would have played well and that sort of thing. But going back and rereading, I just don't feel that was appreciated. I want my heroic fantasy to, surprisingly enough, have heroes and that sort of a thing. Although I love me some Michael Moorcock and that sort of thing, doing anti-heroes too. And he was my favorite author after I started to read his stuff. Yeah, but I just don't want. I just going back, and even at the time, I was like, I just felt like the last one sort of sold. So that sort of thing. So the first book. So I'm going to have to give you spoilers at the end of the trilogy. It was in 1989. I tried not to do spoilers because it's needed in order to understand what's happening. And that's so. This is your spoiler warning for about 5 seconds to the first trilogy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we're good to go. So basically, what happens at the end of the first novel is that we're there. There's a battle at Shadowdale. Elminster disappears, and then everybody thinks, and then Storm has they killed him because he disappeared. And now, who's a great character, and she's strong. We know she's a Harper. She's a strong character. She's my favorite character from Ed Green was a Spellfire, the creator. And that introduced her. That's a total change and that sort of a thing in her. I did like the epic ending before her, but that's sort of a change in her character, and then everybody else agreeing with her, saying, "Oh yeah, we got to bring him in," and that sort of a thing. They try him, and so the next one's all about the trial, and that sort of a thing. It's a total misfire of justice. And that sort of thing, so for those reasons, it's a total. So I felt like the first part was about like a 7, but then it dropped to a 6.5 because of that. And we know that these characters were just acting more like villains, trying to find somebody to blame. After Elminster went disappearing, he's a mage. You're going to go disappearing a lot. And it's wild magic too, right? And the idea that Midnight could actually take him out would be very, very surprising to just that high level of mage. And then the first third of Tangerous has them escaping and being chased by bad guys and that sort of thing on tracking the first of the 2 tablets of fate. And that sort of thing. I just don't like that either because that drops it. The first third is now about the surprise. Did they kill Elminster? No, probably not. But yeah, because we know what actually happened. But what's going to happen? And they're going to get tried and sentenced to killing, right? Not just right. They're going to get sentenced to killing, and that sort of thing. In like a 1-day trial, it's definitely a show trial, and that sort of thing. They don't even allow them to give a defense. Like they don't even allow her to speak on her behalf because mages can't. In which it's supposed to definitely evoke the witches, but I don't like it that much. Sort of thing too. And then at the end of the third book. And that sort of thing, we'll find out that Common War will die to Cyric. So Cyric's blade and that sort of a thing, and then we'll find out that Midnight and Cyric will become gods. Midnight will become the god of Mystar that dies in the first novel and replace her, the god of magic. Replace her heel, replace her name. Cyric will become Baal, and then Merkel, who also dies in the third book too, so it's also the god of murder, the god of strife, and the god of the dead. 3 gods in one. Good stuff. And then in the last book, there's more characters that are introduced, like characters that are scribing the Siren Shah that Cyric wants to create in order to have everybody who reads it automatically, magically fall in love with him and believe all of its lies and that sort of thing. And then he also, and that sort of a thing. Something is created, no spoilers for that, that sort of a thing, but something is created to help push back against that, and that sort of a thing too. And then he also curious, he'll have somebody trick him into dying by pretending to be Thor, and that sort of thing. And he actually will become more of a pawn, and that sort of thing of the underworld. And now, beginning of the Crucible, the trial of the Cyric the Mad from 88, I think. Troy Denning, I'll link you to in the comments below. So now we're going to be introduced. Somebody has found the Siren Shed, and that sort of thing is in Candlelucky in the first chapter. And then he will communicate that information, and he will actually be. There'll actually be a group of people. He'll assemble that are ready to attack. But because they're Cyrax's god of strife, they don't like each other too. They attack each other rather than the people in Candlekeep. And this guy's like, he tried to grab each of their symbols of faith and try to have them each get assembled, but they're clearly not listening to him. He gets wounded, and then he gets attacked by Cyric, who shows up and says, I want you to go. After this trial is going to start for him, because they think he's too mad. He's just too incompetent because he's mad. And their claim for him being mad is that he's read his own Cyric and that sort of thing. So because he's gone mad, which is where the trial comes in, the Crucible, the trial of Cyric mad, he needs to have the Cyric as a evidence that he can support, and then turn them to his side and have them all fall for him. And actually, we know that that happens with the god mask. So we know that that actually can happen too. So it actually makes sense within the context of the story. So he is going. So he has the guy go into Candlekeep in order to go bring back. And even though he's not like a rogue or a mage or a fighter, he's just a merchant. And that sort of thing. He's actually really not an adventurer, but he's the only one left. And so Cyric was going to send him in by himself, and that sort of thing, to get the book and that sort of thing, and then bring it to the trial. And so that is the basic part of what's happening, right? And that's the basic thing. Now, I don't like how about midway through some of the things that happened in the previous novel, the fourth one that I gave a 7 to, are more undone and that sort of thing. I don't think the ending works too. I don't like it either. And that sort of thing. I don't think that this has the epic feels of the first three, even though they were sort of diminished, or the nice political drama. It's more of a trial. There's not that much drama, even though it's in the title. There's more. It's just more political drama, but I just don't like some of the things that are happening or what they do to some of the characters in the previous one. Just like the first novel, I did the previous characters like Storm too. So I'm giving this a 5. I don't even like it a little bit. It's not even a 6 like the first one, or Tantress. It's a 5 out of 10. I just don't think that Troy Denning stuck the landing here and that sort of thing. Again, it's got to be right because it's event. It's the Avatar trilogy, right? It's all about changing the realms up. It's got gods that are in fighting and that sort of thing, and now they're playing for a trial and that sort of thing. But yeah, you get it. But it's very fast. It's only like maybe 10 or 12. But lots of things happen in the 10 or 12 days that it is long. It's hard to feel that's actually what's happening for you folks, and there you are. Also, there is a character that's introduced early on, a woman. I won't tell you what happened to her, but something actually happens to her that she was not a part of, and that sort of thing, and it's sort of played off as just a little beside the point, as just, oh, that's Cyric acting like Cyric, that sort of thing. It's kind of like the mad and that sort of thing. I don't feel like that was really appropriately done today, in today's era. And that sort of thing. So I don't like that. So there you are. But there you are. It's a 5 out of 10. I don't like it that much. I didn't like it the first time. I don't remember it that much. I knocked it out in 2 days. I did the first 60 pages on Tuesday, and then knocked out the last 310 pages. 20 actually. Sorry, it's 380 pages though. I'm flying back on Wednesday, a couple of days ago, when I'm recording this on Friday for you folks. So I'll leave it in the comments below in case you're interested in checking it out. But your mileage may vary. But then let me know. Again, I'm not a literary critic. I'm not trained. I did in literature or English. I didn't study or anything like that. All right. So for those reasons, what that means is that your opinion may just be just as different as mine, right? So I'm definitely interested in checking out whether you agree or disagree with my 5 out of 10 for you folks. Alrighty, so there you are. If you're interested, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below for you folks. And I also do 3 videos a week of these older things like this, and the 3 genres that we cover in science fiction and fantasy and horror too for you folks. And then I'll also do some stuff on video games of older things and on Wednesdays for you folks. And then I have on Saturday, do something I call Serial Saturday for you folks, which you can check out too, where I do the older forgotten movies and TV storytelling genres of that sort of thing too. And then on Monday, I do something where I review raw RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons from the first edition stuff too, or back me. And then also war games too, like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sorry, war games like BattleTech and that sort of thing too. So you can check us out too if you're interested in those older things. All right, and if those older things sound like your cup of tea, then great. Welcome to the channel and have a seat. I think you'll enjoy your time here much. Take your shoes off too. All right, and while you're here, why not do all the YouTube stuff like subscribe, hit the like button, the bell icon, and share. But basically the key way is to go over the watch and the show. Alrighty, so there you are. As you can tell from the title, and the 7 things, all older things that we do reviews of each week for you folks. You can definitely tell it's a passion. It's even where its name comes from. The worst thing about new books. That's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst about them was they kept us from reading the old stuff, right? It's definitely some older stuff we might have forgotten about, right? And our passion for the new novel, in this case, or video game or movie, we might have forgotten that they're standing on the shoulders of these giants, right? So let's check out those giants. Not that they're bad, they're not, but it's just, in our presence for the new diversion, right? Also, I appreciate something more the more I understand it. My first strengths quest, it's called the context, and that sort of thing. It's a positive psychology approach to personality types, and so I appreciate something more the more I go back and do it, right? And I appreciate that. So, for example, in his first edition, in Gary Gygax's Dungeon Tide, he actually has an appendix in where he lists all the influences. So I've gone back and read a bunch of those for this channel, and that sort of thing too. And so that's also something to do. I appreciate that more. All right, so there you are. I want to thank you so very much for just taking some time out of your day and investing it, right, and watching my videos, because we all have so many things, right, that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions too, right? So the fact you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate that so very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.